Hello ratbags, it's Jade. Welcome to a Rust video. We've got important information about some of the problems you've been having since it actually came into full launch. I know it's 3 days early access, but that's just literally to gain access to the game. There aren't going to be significant huge changes, except for some bug fixes. Now there's lots of problems, going to list the problems, and they've just updated their status and gave us when we can expect to see some of the fixes. So basically it's in certification now, so hopefully some of the problems listed will be fixed by the time the game launches on the 21st. I think it's fair to say everyone is not extremely happy with the Rust launch. There's lots of problems, lots of issues, and everyone's a bit wondering why we're playing a version that's before the beta. So I'm going to clear that up for you guys. I'm also going to talk about something else that's important, the cost of rental servers. It does look like Double 11 are finding new ways to monetize and get even more money from you if their plans go ahead, what they've outlined on the splash page on the Xbox and PlayStation server rentals. They're again doing something that no other company has done before in the survival genre or any other genre that I can see. Timestamps there if you want to skip ahead. Let's go, it's the Rust news. So the launch last night didn't go especially well. It ended up being around 2:35, 2:50 by the time Xbox players got a chance to play. PlayStation owners, you got a chance to play exactly when it was midnight in your region. And the crossplay servers, they're going to be coming up now that everyone is involved and has all the servers access to them. They said they didn't want to put them up until the PlayStation players joined the Xbox party. But by now, everyone should be able to at least connect to the game. And I have to say, it seems to be okay. Some games, like Outriders, do have lots of issues with everyone trying to play the game at once. But it does look like whatever they've got going, the amount of servers, it seems just about okay. Although even at 8 o'clock this morning when I jumped on for my live stream, there were at least 30 to 50 people on each server. So I am going to wonder if everyone's going to jump on tonight and whether or not you won't be able to get on your server because there's too many people. So at the moment, connecting to the game hasn't been too bad, although there are some connection issues trying to find your servers, and server favoriting and history is broken. Quite simply, it looks like they had a build got through for certification that had a lot of content in it, but didn't maybe have all the beta changes. You have to submit a build to go live at least a month in advance on Xbox and PlayStation, but then that's it. You can't actually update that build explicitly in most cases. You have to let it sit there and get a day one patch ready. Now, because Rust has got this technically 3-day early access, it's hopeful that they are going to update, and judging by the patch that's gone through and we're just waiting for it to go through certification, that looks to be the case, that it will arrive hopefully tomorrow, but probably not until the actual launch date. Betas and stuff like that do operate a little bit different, but it's not a simple case of just rolling one over. So if you're wondering why some problems have returned to this version of Rust right now, it does look like it's because they uploaded an earlier version of the game. So what kind of problems are there? Well, right now on Xbox Series X and S, the major one is input lag. I showed it off on my stream today. It's pretty horrendous. I'm not that bad a player, but even getting through a doorway was absolute murder sometimes with the input lag and delay. Other than that, there were some other glitches and problems too, and some of these issues are affecting PlayStation owners. The main one being that you cannot craft anything from tier 2. If you're trying to craft explicitly gunpowder, you'd be having a big problem. And it does look like lots of you guys have had that issue where some items you can't craft from tier 2 or it's all items. I also noticed some other items were having problems. I tried crafting a nail gun, it wasn't working correctly. And there was multiple issues with items appearing in my hotbar, even though I set it to only replenish healing items only. It would often just put a random weapon or a random component in there instead. And the recycler has been recycling stuff, but not actually giving you anything back for it. And there's lots of other issues and stuff not necessarily currently working correctly. Most of you guys that came in said game chat was working correctly now. On top of that, there are significant FPS issues on an Xbox One. It's my biggest criticism, or one of them, that the older gen consoles are just running like dog shit, and it does seem like that nothing has really changed. Yes, you can join, you can play, but the FPS on Xbox One is not 30 FPS. I will fight anyone that says it is. The Rust devs have said they're going to try and get it locked to 30 FPS, so it won't go more than that, which means normally it's going to be stable. But I really don't think the FPS, as you can see from this gameplay, is up to scratch. Even for an old gen console, even for all the problems and issues that they've taken to get this game ready, I don't think it's good enough for the price they've charged, all that other shit they're doing, to have a game that's running at barely 15-20 FPS. On top of that, old gen Xbox, I've had loads of crashes, which I didn't have before, so hopefully they're going to be fixed as well as we go and look at some of this stuff. But I've got to point it out, I crashed around 5 times in half an hour of playing today. As you can see, a lot of them were around the monument of the launch site, and each time I crashed, not only did it crash me out, it also killed me. PlayStation owners, you've been having issues with your skins. Your skins will not unlock mostly, or shouldn't be unlocking until full launch, but Xbox players were able to craft the skins. To craft the skins, you actually just have to hover over the item. So in this instance, the bow or the rock, and then you simply press the right trigger to move over to the skin, where you'll craft the item. And that's actually quite a lot better. I think on PC you have to change the skins, I could be wrong on this, but you have to change the skins at a repair bench. So it's a good thing that they're doing this, but PlayStation knows it does look like you won't be able to do that until the full game launches. Oh, and one last thing, some of you guys came into my stream and said that a tier 3 workbench will kind of work and you will be able to craft gunpowder on it. So that's one solution to get around it for now. Obviously as well, by now you should know that the maps are all the same. There are no bigger maps, although there were some 3.5 kilometer maps in some of the beta tests. Because they've removed 3 of the monuments, if you don't know already, the water plants, the train yards and the supermarkets, it does mean that we're stuck with literally just the same map. Now I joined 5 different servers, all EU, and they were all exactly the same map. That may change for launch, I'm hoping so, but if not, it's going to get really dry, all of us just running around exactly the same map on exactly the same monuments. They've said they're not going to do procedurally generated in future. I don't want to repeat my video from yesterday where I talked about the things you need to know. But just to iterate, because we always get them comments, it looks like it's going to be from a choice of like 5 or 6 maps that they will use. So here's the list of stuff they have guaranteed said will be fixed. Stability in server list, 5-second freeze on Xbox, Series X frame rate issues, reverted strafe changes, poor texture quality, pink or invisible textures on players, auto sprint not working, can walk around on death screen, cannot place open doors, clients running after kit, crash setting favourite servers, full damage when logged out, missing buildings in harbour, and no footsteps SX if wearing shoes. So a lot of the stuff I just mentioned isn't in this launch patch. We can only hope it does make it in time for the full launch. They've also only just released this information after being out actually for everyone to play about 18-19 hours now. This literally only popped up about 5 minutes before I was going to finish this video, so I've had to edit it and change a few things around. It's no way to keep your players informed, only letting them know about this stuff like nearly a full day after it's come out. Now some slight positives, it's not all doom and gloom. It does look like the shotgun has now been fixed, the skin on it is correctly working. I literally thought I had a brand new shotgun skin, I got so used to seeing the white one. But yeah, it doesn't bode well. They said that this stuff was fixed for the beta, it was part of 1.2, but lots of these problems are still appearing. Now obviously a big huge problem is avoiding corn. Do not eat any corn. Apparently you guys have been telling me that crashes you out massively. You may have trouble even getting back in. And just various other little niggles. Some of this is to be expected. I won't rag on it too much. Like I said, other games like Outriders and pretty much any game that has an online component nowadays will have some bugs. Generally though, I consider them bugs okay as long as they don't make me crash or die. And obviously I've been crashing a lot, I've been dying a lot, and I do think that the low FPS count on older gen consoles, which most of you are using and playing, fact, only a small percentage of you are playing on Xbox Series X or S or PlayStation 5, most of you are going to experience some of these problems. I didn't mention anything about improving the Xbox One FPS, which I think is just horrendous. Sure, I'm not starting around everywhere, but I don't think this is nowhere near 30, maybe 20 if we're lucky. So I'm lucky enough to own both consoles, the Series X and a base Xbox, and yeah, if I want to play nice FPS, then I can maybe play the Series X, it's a bit better, but at the moment the input lag is just making it really poor to play as well. So that'll be one of my number ones I can't wait to see fixed. So fingers crossed this stuff will be in a launch in 2 days. Q, everyone's saying, oh you can't rag them out, it's early access. Yes, it's early access, as in they gave us early access, but that doesn't really excuse a bunch of bugs in there, and I hope this puts to bed all the idiots that were saying, oh it's just a beta, it's just a beta. I don't think it's good enough that they didn't communicate about what kind of build we'd expect or what kind of content the game would actually have, but you get the idea. I don't think this is as smooth as it could have gone, but it's not the worst game launch, it's just disappointing. Also, just a brief word about Discord. It's got about 21k members in it. That's pretty big. Valheim's got about 100,000. I've seen other Discords that have got lots and lots as well. They seem to be overdoing it a little bit. They seem to be putting like timers for half an hour to report a bug, 10 minutes to have a chat in the main chat. I think at some point you just got to let people go a little bit. Like, there are instances, Rust is a bit of a toxic game, I can get it, but they do seem a little bit hell-bent on just shutting down things. Although today, there hasn't been that much communication. There hasn't been anything coming from the actual developers themselves or community manager about what's going on with the problems or the situation. And they've not been doing it as much today, but there have been some tweets that have been hiding replies that, quite frankly, I wouldn't have even bothered with. So all in all, I would have expected them to be talking a lot more today, rather than wait till like 6:30, at night to start telling people about what's going to be fixed and what stuff was to be coming. Some other notes as well. It doesn't look like they're going to be adding any solos or duo servers anytime soon, nor are they adding any type of extra gather rate servers, which leads on to the private servers issues. Obviously, we can now take a look at the skin store. That won't be live until launch. You won't be able to buy any skins till launch. And we've taken a look at the server lists. Now, yesterday I pointed out to you guys that they have removed the server options splash page from their official website. It used to be on this website, you could take a look, but they've removed that page now. You can only find it by going through the actual Google history. But there's some worrying stuff here. For community servers, our aim was to have them ready and released, but we want to make sure players get a fair deal as well as the best possible quality for the service. For this reason, we are still considering all the available options, and we should have more information to share about it in the following weeks and months. So it's pretty standard to have these servers not start straight away. They usually kick in maybe a month after the game's gone out. Only a few select cases have you had private rentable servers straight away. But look what has been revealed. You've got standard and then you've got performance. And some of this other stuff is pretty bog standard. So having 30 days for your server, check. Nitrado, Gportal, they all charge you an amount. You usually get the server for 30 days. There are some servers you can rent for just 1 day or maybe even 3 days. It depends on the provider, but most people grab a server for at least a month. And then under the standard section, you've got admin controls, which include God mode, maybe being able to ban players, change some time settings, etc. Public access, so you can control whether or not it's private, or simply set it to public, just control. PvP control, so you can turn it off to PvE, and then map seed settings. So you will be able to change what kind of map it might be from a preset of maybe 4 or 5. So that's what everyone gets, whether or not you buy a standard or a performance server. But this is where the shadiness starts to come in. Map size 1 km to 2.5 km on a standard. You get that as part of the standard. Monument choice selected, 1 to 50 player count, starter packs 6 options, gathering multiplayer no. So you're not even going to be able to have a server that holds 100 players. The maximum is 50. That's kind of bullshitty. Rust is already small enough as it is for console. Making it only 50 players for something you're paying money for. You've got to buy these with your own money. That's really shady. I mean, don't get me wrong, other server providers let you choose and it's cheaper to have smaller slots, so it's quite expensive to have a server that has lots of players on it if it's the first time you're thinking about doing something like this. On the Ark on console and DayZ on console, it costs more if you increase the slots. But straight off the bat, you're not going to be able to have more than 50 players even if you did have the cash. And then if we take a look at the performance, so this is obviously going to be a more expensive set of servers. You can have your map size 1 km to 5 km. The developers said that 5 km maps would come eventually, but maybe not for a while. Monument choice is full, so obviously if you don't buy the more expensive edition of the server, you won't be able to use all of the actual proper monuments. And the player count is still just 1 to 50, and then start packs. On the standard servers, you get 6 options, so you can choose to start with just a rock, maybe a torch, maybe even some guns, who knows. But if you buy the performance ones, you'll be able to start with whatever you want. And then here's the clincher, here's the most shady out of all that. I mean, that's all still pretty shady, I'm going to explain. But gathering multiplayer, you won't be able to change it. You won't be able to increase it to 2, to 3, but performance servers, you will be able to increase the gather rates. I know some of you guys can't handle it, honestly, I know. But trust me, look it up yourselves. No game is doing this, just like no game hides their test servers behind paid options. No game is making you pay more just to increase the gather rates. Can you imagine if Ark did that, if Conan Exiles did that? It is ludicrous that they're using that as a paid option. Again, it's another way to just price gouge money out of people. I can almost accept the map sizes being something that you might have to pay more for because the technology is not necessarily there yet, because obviously we're running around on small servers. We know it gets laggy. I'm going to show you an interview from the devs that explains some of that stuff. But usually you never ever have to pay more just because you increase the gathers. On Arc, it's famous for having 20 Fibercraft servers where everything's 20 times and you get all sorts of stuff. My videos showing people how to adjust their server settings and add all sorts of options were some of the most watched in Arc because they were giving you the idea of how to customize and do what you want with your server, spawning in all sorts of stuff. So the idea that they're trying to think of making it more expensive is fucking awful. Like, just really, really poor. Especially as well not having the full monuments. Like, you won't be able to play with the whole set of features unless you pay more money for it. I'm sure I'll get the usual brigade that try defending all the other bullshit, like I said with the test servers, like the 3-day early access, like literally paying for the beta, and obviously we've seen that beta just wasn't good enough. You can't accept this. You can't have this happening. So I'm guessing that's why they've put that in the blog post from yesterday or the day before, stressing that they are going to look to add more value. They probably knew I'd probably do a rant video about it, and I'm pretty sure they knew that players would not be accepting this. If you're going to be spending even more money to host your own server because the game doesn't come with a single player world, then for fuck's sake, you cannot charge players more money just to have some extra gathering rates or just to have some extra monuments. Again, they don't do this on PC. You choose your map you want, you can spawn in whatever size map you want, you get all the monuments, you can change the gather rates, you can add add-ons, you can add mods. It's fucking disgusting what they're trying to do here, and I don't think they're going to necessarily water it down that much. I do believe they're still going to try and do this kind of bullshit. And as again, I will point out, no other gaming console does this. Arc doesn't do it, DayZ doesn't do it, and they've got some of the worst options for doing stuff with your servers. But at least you can change and mix things up, put different things spawning in different places. But now Rust are trying to charge you just because you want some of the monuments added. As said, we'll have to wait and see, but this is technically the full game. Yeah, we got 3-day early access, but this is what they've presented. They could have removed this splash page. They could have put a proper apology up on Twitter and said, look, we know this looks a bit rough. We're going to take a proper look at this, and we're not going to be having what we originally thought of. Instead, they put some vague bullshit on their blog post saying that they're going to think of ways to add value. Even if they do show it, even if they do change it, I think it really shows how bad this company has been at trying to get money from you guys. Not only with the MTX, but with the pre-order nonsense, the beta access, the 3-day early access, and now literally they were planning to try and rob you for money just because you wanted to have what PC had when you're renting your own server. I have dealings with server providers. I'm a partner in the Trado. I've spoke to a few people that have in the business, and this is complete money cash grabbing. Yes, there is performance issues if you have too much going on. Yes, some server providers do provide boosts for your servers, or basically the upgraded version. But that's normally for laggy servers like Minecraft, where you've got huge worlds and multiple players running across them all. What none of these server providers do is stop you from being able to have whatever you want in that game. They don't stop you having certain pieces or landmarks. They don't stop you having whatever number you want, up to 100 or whatever it is. They don't really try and lock off map sizes for you. Generally, you can have whatever map size you want. If this isn't the way it's going to be, they need to remove this sheet right now, but it does look like it's damage limitation. They put that in their blog post, and so now they're trying to reduce it and make everyone aware, just in case everyone starts kicking up a fuss because they realise what this means, or informed. Like, if you've never really played any of the other survival games, or you've never rented the server, none of this may mean much to you. You might just be thinking, what's the big deal? Couple dollars more. As always, like me, you may earn a fair amount of money. You can go and buy what game you want to get. I've got no problems choosing what I want. But that is not the point. It's the principle of the thing, and it's comparing it to other games out there that do well. Like, some of the games that are doing well don't do this kind of shit. Ark doesn't do this. No Man's Sky doesn't do this. DayZ doesn't do this. Conan Exiles doesn't do this. All these other survival games that are very similar to Rust don't do this kind of shit. And despite Rust's popularity, and with Twitch streamers a few months ago, and its big success over the last 2 years in becoming bigger than Ark on PC, it still doesn't justify milking audiences. So yeah, expect strong words from me if they do go forward with this. If they don't, if they're watching this video, change this fucking now. Do not offer more different versions of a server, or make it that the only thing you're doing is increasing performance by putting it on a better network box, rather than adding or changing, adjusting monuments, or whether or not you can gather rates. That is just simply not good enough. In a way, I am giving them lots of criticism, but you know what? I know for a fact they're watching, since some of their posts are directly linked to some of the stuff that I've criticised and said. And definitely, even if you think it's harsh, it gives them an idea of what to expect, gives them something to look out for and hopefully learn from. Like, I'm not the only one, otherwise my videos would all be ratioed, whereas only one of them's nearly close to being ratioed, simply because I told you guys to refund. Honestly, I don't need to do this for views. I'm happy playing Valheim. I'm happy covering every other survival game. Last Oasis come out today with Season 4, adding new Worm. I've got Ark next week. I've got Conan Exiles next week as well. And Biomutants, my big baby that I'm putting a lot of time and effort into at the moment. I want this game to run well. I want the developers to stop doing this kind of shit. Or I should say the owners of these developers, because it's never the poor developers. It's never the dude that is trying to make the server stable, that is deciding to add all these skins or try and chop up server rentals to get more money. Of course not. I feel sorry for them. They're working their hardest. But yeah, Lee Hutchinson, the CEO of Double 11, and whoever else makes these decisions, maybe Gary Newman, the actual creator of Rust, who signed off on this bollocks when he signed off the agreement for him to make the port, this ain't it, chief. Fix your shit. Maybe to try and soften the blow a little bit about Rust coming to console, they've got an interview with one of the developers of the game. Now, I'm not here to crap on a developer and what they're saying here. Again, they don't make the choices about servers, the cost of stuff, skins. They're there just to port the game over and do the best they can, and I'm pretty sure they are working as best they can. But it pretty much just says how hard it was to port the game over, reiterating some of the earlier blog posts we saw a while back and saying how tough it is to get everything working, how there's so many moving parts in an open world game or semi-open world, and that trying to fit 10 GB of data from RAM onto a 4.5 GB on consoles has been really tough. Yeah, but other games have done it, and I think it's all about the delivery. If your game is gonna be maybe troublesome, maybe don't try selling it as a AAA game. I will stick to it. I think they just should have done this game as early access, put it for $30, kept it in early access for 6 months, and done what a lot of other games did. PUBG managed to do that, and that was fine, and then they released it to PlayStation, or whatever it was, rather than kind of overinflate everything and try and get other ways to monetize. We still don't know how much the skins are either. They better not be anything more than sort of $10 for one skin, like, please no. But there we go, guys, everything you need to know about the launch so far, what's coming with fixes, and let's just pray them server rentals aren't going to be as bad. I try not to be doom and gloom. Maybe the server rentals won't be that expensive, maybe they'll be cheaper than the other server providers, even with their advanced options or their performance option will be. But that benefit of the doubt went out the window when they did their shenanigans with the pre-order stuff, and I'm never going to forget that. And I am going to do a review. This is why I'm still covering it. I'm determined to do a fair gameplay review. But yeah, I probably will mention their attitude and the way they've gone about their business as a subsequent kind of important thing to it, because I think they match. I think they do. I don't think you can just look at a game that says it runs perfect, but the game developers are just trying to monetize us to hell. I don't think that's cool. So yeah, expect that on launch day, guys, if I can get 30 hours in. That's the goal. I won't do a review until I at least put 30 hours into Rust. Agree, disagree, keep it nice and clean and respectful, and give me something to actually debate. Don't just sit and say I'm a hater or cry it out. Actually use your big boy words, and I'll see you rat bags laters.